Last night my friends, my crush, and I agreed to meet at my favorite bar after work. I was a bit early since I got to leave work 30 minutes early, so I went inside and ordered a beer for myself. There was a huge, muscular guy with a long-ass ponytail sitting at the bar, and the seat next to him was empty. He offered me to sit down, so I did. We had some small talk and he seemed nice enough. Just asked me why I'm all alone, and he kept talking about how I looked so uneasy and nervous and that I should relax. It was weird, but he had an almost empty bottle of vodka in front of him, so I really didn't think anything of it. My friends finally arrived just as I finished my first beer, and we went to sit at a table. I had 3 more bottles of beer and we were having a great time. Whenever I went to the toilet, that guy from the bar was there, asking me if I was okay. That was pretty strange, but at the time I felt just a little tipsy and everything was alright. At some point I started to feel sick, so I went outside to have a cigarette and get some cold air. The guy followed me outside and asked if I was alright. I was starting to get weirded out at that point. The bar was super full, but he really seemed to watch me all night. I went back inside, ordered a glass of water, and told my friends that I wasn't feeling well and would be going home. They all offered to bring me home, which I am so darn grateful for looking back. I took a sip of water and then it all just hit me. I ran outside and threw up. I could barely stand up all of a sudden, so I sat down on a staircase and kept throwing up. My friends found me a few minutes later and kept arguing about whether they should take me to a taxi or carry me home. Then the guy from the bar showed up. He kept saying that he lives just down the street and that I could sleep on his couch. My coworker, who is basically like an older brother to me, got really pissed and told that guy to fuck off. They forced me to stand up, which was almost impossible at that point, and somehow dragged me to my friend's place, where I went to sleep hugging a bucket and feeling like I was gonna die any second. This morning I wasn't able to stand up for hours. When I did, it resulted in instant vomiting. It was 1 p.m. when I finally managed to go to the train station, get something to eat and drink, and head home. I'm still shaking and sweating and everything looks blurry. So weird guy from the bar, let's not meet again. Back in about 2000 or 2001, I was driving by myself from visiting my mom in Colorado back to Arizona. I was in a station wagon and had a desk my mom had given me that was my grandfather's. I've always been scared driving at night that there is someone in my back seat that is going to get me. This might be because of too many scary movies or because my mom's paranoia rubbed off on me. I was in the army and drove back and forth a lot to visit her. She would get mad at me for sleeping at rest stops or gas stations and tell me someone was going to kidnap me and kill me. But I just didn't want to be bothered with the hassle and expense of a motel most of the time. I digress, so I'm driving an empty stretch of highway late at night with no other cars around. This red truck comes up behind me, flashing his lights and honking his horn at me. I was thinking to myself that there was something wrong with my car, or maybe there was something wrong with the desk in the hatchback. Because why else would he be so insistent on me pulling over? So I pull over. I was in my mid-20s and still a bit naive, and get out of my car. As I'm getting out of my car, he's directly behind me and still flashing his lights and honking his horn. I got to about the middle of the car. I plan on going to the back to see what could have been wrong with my car when it hit me. Why is he still honking at me while I'm out of my car? That's odd. Then he gets out of his truck. That's when I knew something just wasn't right. I jumped back in my car and sped off. The next exit was 45 miles or so away. He followed me the entire time. I take the first exit and go to a crowded grocery store with a laundromat next to it. There was an ambulance parked at the laundromat with its lights flashing, and I was next to it. I figured if there was an ambulance, then eventually a police officer should come. The man stayed in his truck in the grocery store parking lot watching me the entire time. I was terrified. I did not want to get out of my car and felt like an idiot if I would have had to tell someone what happened. I waited about an hour and he finally left. After he left, I waited a little longer before continuing my drive back to Arizona. I was paranoid and watchful for any red trucks the entire time. Fast forward about 5 or 6 years. I'm watching Unsolved Mysteries or some similar type crime show with my husband at the time. He knew what happened as we were dating when it happened. And what story pops up? One about a man on that exact stretch of highway with a red truck that used those exact tactics to get a few women to pull over and murder them. I really am glad Micah told me something was wrong and to get back in my car and drive, so guy in the red truck, let's not meet again. This guy comes in. I asked him if he needed any help. He says no, he's getting gas at the pump but needs to use the bathroom. I go back to work on whatever invoices we got yesterday. The guy uses the bathroom and then goes back outside. About 5 to 7 minutes later, he comes back inside and tells me that he's confused about the pump. He directly says you might have to come outside to help me. Costumers don't often say this. They usually just complain that it's not working, so I'm already feeling weird about this guy. I shake it off because he looks like a nerd and I don't feel afraid of him really. I look at the register to see what error it came up with for his pump, and there's no errors. The register doesn't even say it was in use. Even if someone tries to pay and nothing's wrong with their payment, it will at least state payment/loyalty timed out, but literally it had no sign of him trying to use it. Before asking me for help, I ask him if he wants to just pay inside. He agrees to, gets his wallet out of his car, and then pays $10. I give him his receipt and he says, "Can you help me?" I don't understand the machine and I say we aren't really allowed to leave the store during overnight shifts as it's just me here. And it's not safe to go outside. I don't know why I told him I was alone, but he wasn't seemingly threatening. He proceeds to say I don't understand what it's asking me. I need help. I'm not scary. I tell him again that I can't go outside because it's a store policy for the overnight shift and say, it's not that you're scary, I just can't go outside. I would have to tell a little old lady asking for help at this hour the same thing. Which is true, we can't even take out the trash during overnights. He starts to walk away from the register counter now, but then again stops at the door and asks me one last time to come outside and help him. I'm pretty annoyed at this point. I've said no twice now. I'm not going, so stop asking. I finally say in a super annoyed tone, okay, all you need to do is pick up the nozzle, select fuel grade button, and put it into your tank and squeeze the handle. I'm not going outside. Then he finally goes back to the car, and the register tells me he had no trouble pumping gas. Also, his plates seem like they're from the state I work in. This kind of thing wouldn't make me suspicious usually, but the fact that he originally opted for me to go outside instead of bringing money inside at 3 a.m. is weird. Along with how he didn't bother to use the pump before he came inside to ask for help, claiming it wasn't working, and him not taking my first no for an answer. No means no. So potential gas station abductor, let's not meet again.